All right, I think we have quite a few people that have joined our webinar. So we're going to go ahead and kick off our Patch Tuesday breakdown for August. So welcome to the August Patch Tuesday breakdown. For those that have attended our Patch Tuesday series in the past, thank you for continuing to join us. And for those that are new to the series, welcome and thanks for joining us for this August webinar. My name is Peter Ritter, and I'll be your host for this month, covering all the critical and noteworthy patch updates that we've seen in yesterday's patch release. And joining me today is Nishant from Freshworks. He will deliver an overview of their products and our joint integration. Very excited to have him join me today. For those new to our Patch Tuesday series, we try our best to be brief and only touch on the really pressing items. With that in mind, we'll kick off with a short news recap of recent events within the IT and security space. We'll then spend time discussing the August patch release, detailing out the most critical patches that you should be patching. Nishant will then give us an overview of Freshworks and the joint Automox and Fresh Services integration. As always, we'll leave plenty of time for any questions, and please use the Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner to submit your questions anytime during the webinar. And Jay Goodman will be joining us to answer your questions. And finally, we will have a pop quiz at the end of the webinar that you will find in the bottom menu. We will select one lucky winner from the top scores of the quiz for the $100 Amazon gift card. Our winner will be contacted via email by the end of the day. The questions will come from both today's patch release overview and the Freshworks overview, so better pay attention. A few housekeeping items to keep in mind. For those who have joined us for the past webinars, you may have noticed that we are using the On24 webinar platform. On24 has a different look and feel during the live event, and here's a couple quick tips to help you navigate. First, we have the slide view window, where we'll be walking through today's Patch Tuesday releases, and you can resize this window or make it full screen, whatever you prefer. The Q&A box is in the lower right-hand corner, so go ahead and submit your questions there. Keep in mind that everyone is muted, and we'll address questions towards the end of the webinar. We reported on July 23rd about the Windows Hive Nightmare vulnerability, also known as the Serious SAM vulnerability, that is relatively easy to exploit and impacts Windows 10 build 1809 and up, and has no current patch. Until a fix is released, Microsoft has advised admins to employ 2 workarounds to reduce risk. Those steps are outlined in our blog. An attacker could use this vulnerability to elevate their privileges to system and perhaps get access to user passwords stored in the Security Account Manager, also known as SAM. Now, August was a lighter month than usual, with only 51 vulnerabilities addressed from Microsoft, 7 of which are rated as critical, and only 1 being actively exploited in the wild. This represents a 50% reduction in overall vulnerabilities from July. We have also seen a similar reduction in critical vulnerabilities this month, with 30% less compared to the monthly average. And this month's vulnerabilities seem to follow a trend impacting components in Microsoft Windows that perform network communications, internet connections, printing, file repair, and remote connections. Several of these components have had a number of vulnerabilities reported so far this year. As the summer begins to wind down and returning to physical offices appear to be less likely for many segments of the workforce, the trend for remote work is here to stay, making the patching of these components all the more vital. Adobe has also released 2 patches for 2 different products, and the details are also in our blog. But I'm going to spend the majority of the time talking about the Microsoft patches. All right, so let's go into some of the more noteworthy patches this month, including the one that has been exploited in the wild. First up is a vulnerability in the Windows Update Medic service. The vulnerability is in Windows 10 and Server 2019 and newer operating systems with the Update Medic service. Update Medic is a new feature that allows users to repair Windows Update components from a damaged state, such that a device can continue to receive updates. Unfortunately, this can be exploited without user interaction, making this an easy vulnerability to include in an attacker's toolbox. When combined with other vulnerabilities allowing escalation of privileges, attackers can quickly and easily take full control of the target system to extract data or move to other systems. This particular vulnerability has been seen exploited in the wild, and it is crucial that organizations move quickly to patch and remediate this vulnerability. Given the scope of the impact, this vulnerability should be at the top of your list and patched within 24 hours. Our second remote code execution vulnerability affects the Windows TCP/IP protocol stack. This affects Windows 7 and newer Microsoft operating systems, including server flavors. TCP/IP protocol is a common target. The vulnerability can be remotely triggered by a malicious guest sending an IP version sec ping to the host. The attacker could send a packet using the TCP/IP protocol stack to process a malicious packet. The attack comes from the Hyper-V guest to host, so the scope is limited in this attack, but making it a viable avenue to move across an environment. Next up, we have Windows Service NFS, or Network File System. This vulnerability is more likely to be exploited given that it does not require privileges or user interaction. Attackers can utilize it for denial of service attacks or to modify files. So far, no further details have been divulged by Microsoft or the security researcher that discovered this vulnerability. Given the broad potential for impact and the apparent secrecy, patching should be completed as soon as possible. Our fourth vulnerability is with the Windows scripting engine. This is a scripting engine memory corruption remote code execution vulnerability, and the vulnerability is in how Microsoft's scripting engine handles objects in memory and can lead to remote execution. The vulnerability is bound to the network stack and requires user interaction to take advantage of a vulnerable system, which includes versions of Windows all the way back to Windows 7. Using a web-based attack or a malicious file, such as a malicious landing page, a phishing email, attackers can use this vulnerability to take control of an affected system, to install programs, view or change data, or even create a new user account with full user rights. Definitely want to patch this one as soon as possible. The fifth vulnerability that we're highlighting today is within the Windows graphics component that introduces a potential avenue for attackers to remotely execute code in the context of the current user. The Windows graphic component has already seen multiple fixes this year that address a range of elevation of privileges. An attacker would need to find a way to bait the user into opening a particular file, and while it is less likely, Automox does recommend patching all critical vulnerabilities within a 72-hour window to ensure that previous vulnerabilities affecting the same component have been addressed. And the last vulnerability we'll talk about today affects the Windows MS HTML platform, also known as Trident. Trident is the rendering engine used by Internet Explorer and Edge, the new engine for Microsoft browser, and many businesses still use Internet Explorer for compatibility reasons. So the vulnerability is important to patch and likely affects a large set of users. The vulnerability is critical and affects many Windows 10 versions, starting with build 1607, as well as Windows Server 2016 and 2019. To exploit, a threat actor would need to pull off a highly complex attack with user interaction, but this is entirely possible with the attackers out there today. So what we're saying is you should definitely patch this. So that's everything we have to highlight for the August patch release. There are a few more vulnerabilities you should be concerned about, and all the details are in our blog. As always, we continue to highlight the need for diligence when it comes to quickly deploying new patches to keep pace with the growing list of known vulnerabilities. It is taking hackers a lot less time to take advantage of these and get exploits out there. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nishant for a Freshworks overview and our integration with Fresh Services. I'll be back for the Q&A with Jay Goodman, and then we'll wrap up with the quiz.
Thank you, and I really love this overview, and I look forward to join the future Bash Tuesdays to learn more about these patches that we need to know about. So let's talk about Freshwork for a moment. If you read the Forbes 100 private cloud list that was released yesterday, we were ranked 10 on the list. And if you're wondering what we're up to, here's a quick background. We started our journey in 2010 and have an annual revenue of over 350 million, over 5,000 employees, 600 partners, and today we have over 50,000 happy customers. Uh, we have over 12 products that we sell in the market actively. Now, as we work with thousands of customers across the globe, we are increasingly seeing that employee experience is emerging as a key focus area under digital transformation initiatives. This has become central as we went to remote work in the pandemic. Having better employee experience solutions at play can help enhance productivity, empower employees with automation, and keep them consistently engaged with everything that's happening at your organization. Overseeing a digitally distributed workplace becomes easy with great employee experience. Now, we also did a survey of employees and we found that 77% of employees will consider a new employer if their current job does not provide access to tools, technology, and information needed to do their jobs. Employees want to be productive, and it is becoming a huge imperative for a CIO or the office of CIO to ensure they have all the right tools in place. Now, let's talk, talk about modern IT service management. We believe it is critical capability that is central to exceptional employee experience. And when we say modern IT service management, we essentially mean a service management solution that's intelligent and is right sized for you. Now, a modern CIO pain point start with they want to do more with less, right? Like any CIO we talk to today, they want to keep running their business without disruption while they want to keep helping the business grow. And especially, and what we saw last year, the workforce is evolving. Now we have Gen Z, which is digital native, and we have millennials, and every segment in the workforce has different needs and different requirements that suit their background. And finally, we know every CIO wants to evolve into next gen service management. They want to avoid inefficiencies caused by traditional service management solutions, and they want to keep the total cost of ownership and return on investment under check. Now, let's run a quick poll. Which of the following is the biggest concern for a present day IT team? You will see the options on your screen. And let's take 10 seconds for you to answer these questions. Let's take a few more seconds to look at the results. Right, we see the results now. So the biggest concern that we see that is emerging today is implementation and training. And what we're seeing is cost and ROI is neck to neck in implementation and training, which is not surprising. If you look at the cost of traditional service management tools, we have seen this story play again and again. They are hard to implement, they require a lot of training, and they are costly, and the ROI is a huge challenge. So let's walk through this journey and see how we can give you a better solution. Now, Freshservice is the fastest growing IT service management product that's making both IT and employees fall in love with IT service management software. It is right sized, intelligent service management solutions that extends digital capabilities and delivers exceptional employee productivity for modern enterprises that are looking to digitally transform their business. Today, we are developing our product on four key capability areas to transform employee experience. They are IT service management, where we want to modernize the service management with AI and automation. We want to supercharge IT operations to ensure high uptime and efficiently manage assets. We want to deliver an advanced project management for IT and business projects on a single platform. And finally, we want to delight employees with unified service management across all departments. This is built on top of a secure, scalable, and compliant cloud. And Freshservice helps transform service management for all departments. Now, let's talk about Freshservice and Automox integration. We all know patching software is hard. A typical enterprise has thousands of devices. Add to that how each department has its own set of applications and softwares that they need to enable employees to do the job effectively. This leads to thousands of software and applications in a typical enterprise. And we also know, right, like while some of these software applications have best in class notification or update processes, many of them don't. In fact, we have often come across unsupported applications as well. And when we look at traditional patch management software, they still require manual intervention to deploy patches. Now, we also know unpatched systems are a security risk. In fact, one fourth of global organizations face breaches because of unpatched vulnerabilities. Now, when we look deeper, so we look at outdated operating systems and third party applications leave business systems vulnerable to attack. Now, a security breach happens because an unpatched system can result in bad reputation, lawsuits, and loss of business. Now, let's look at why do you need an automated patch management? Adopting a manual patch management policy is time consuming and resource intensive. And as we saw in the poll survey, this is one of the top challenges that you called out in service management already. And with automated patch management, you can overcome this challenge. The other challenge that we increasingly see is high cost of manual patching, resulting in organizations either delaying or skipping patching together. So think about it, right? Like how many employees press a delay button when they get a notification on upgrading the OS? Uh, they want to do it, just that they keep delaying it. And I know I've been guilty of that more often than not. We also know automated patch management reduces vulnerability exposure, increases infrastructure visibility, and minimizes the resources required to improve data security. Now let's take a deep dive into what does automated patch management mean. And we know that this term is often misused in the industry. So we want to take a moment to look at what are the different facets of what makes an best in class automated patch management solution. So you want automated patch deployment, you want multi OS support, you want automatic patch compliance, you want to make sure it has configuration management, you want to make sure it is cloud native, you get asset lifecycle management and inventory management, you have asset auto discovery enabled, and you have endpoint visibility. And now when you look at this definition of automated patch management, you can pretty much use this as a benchmark of the existing solution that you have today. Now, Freshservice and Automox deliver these capabilities as part of our native integration. We help you maintain inventory of all devices used in the organization within Freshservice. We help you gain visibility into device health and patch statuses right within Freshservices. We help you remediate and patch devices without ever leaving Freshservice, and we help you deploy software or enforce device policies from Freshservice. Sounds cool, right? Now, let's take a deeper look into these capabilities. So let's look at how do we help you maintain inventory in Freshservice. So patching and endpoint hardening begins with discovery phase. Once Automox agents are deployed to discover devices, the device details in Automox can be synced to Freshservice. This eliminates the need for maintaining multiple discovery tools. We help you gain visibility into the device health. As you can see in the snapshot, you can get the health and patch status of device right from within Freshservice. And you can perform actions such as force scan, you can restart devices, you can deploy all pending patches right from within Freshservice as well. And finally, when it comes to deploying software and enforcing policy, you can trigger device commands to deploy software or apply a device policy defined in Automox from within Freshservice. Essentially, right, like if your employees are like me who keep delaying software upgrades, using Freshservice and Automox, you can ensure that it is forced upon them. Finally, when we talk to thousands of customers who use Automox and who use Freshservice, and when we look or talk to them, like what is it that they truly value, they tell us that Automox has helped them improve user productivity. And more than user productivity, they are extremely happy about enhanced security that they get with automated patch management. And finally, cybersecurity is such a huge concern that the CIOs believe that this is one of the low-hanging fruits that we are helping them solve in a very easy way. And finally, it leads to better compliance as well. With that, I will pass to Jane Goodman, who will lead the question and answer. So, thanks.
Awesome. So actually this month, I'm not seeing a lot of questions. There is a correction that we need to make on the Windows Update Medic vulnerability. That was actually a privilege escalation vulnerability and not an RCE. And we are correcting that across all of our assets. Thank you for catching that, Igor. I'll hang on in case there are any other questions that pop up, but
Yeah, again, if there's any other questions, you still have a couple seconds to submit them, or you can contact either Automox or Freshworks. I also want to thank Nishant for giving us an overview of the products and the integration that we have together between our two companies. We are going to do another webinar in September, mid-September, going deeper into both Automox and into the Freshworks, including the integration. So we'll have some live demos of the consoles. So you can kind of really see that workflow to really bring the two products together. So again, that's coming in mid-September. I don't see any other questions. So again, oh, actually there is one that kind of just popped out there. Is there any ability to report from Automox showing open CVEs or the patched CVEs? Yeah, so there are multiple ways of doing reporting within the Automox platform that's going to give you that detail, or you can even do extract to get that information. So I just saw that last question pop in, so I wanted to answer that real quick. But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up today's webinar. Again, in the On24 platform, we do have the pop quiz. So go ahead and start answering those questions. And later today, we will select the lucky winner from the top score and contact that person via email for the $100 Amazon gift card. Thank you again to Nishant, to Jay, and for everybody for attending today's webinar, and we'll see you next month. Thank you. Bye now.